Hello everyone, welcome back to the United Spotlight, and we are getting into three things today: Bruno, Rashford and Eric Ten Hag, and all three of their futures at the club, and what I think about them and the now and the going into the summer. But as I've not been on for a while and we've been on a decent run, to be fair, I just want to touch on those runs, and I don't want to always be negative, but we won 5 games in a row. We had most of our better players back, so obviously we won the games. Can any of you out there tell me that we played well in those games? Really, we still played the same basketball, end-to-end football. Over the last 3 or 4 games, I think the stats are out there, we've conceded 100 shots. We conceded something like 20 shots versus Luton. And people are happy to say that we're back and we've changed and, oh, the injuries change us. They don't. The difference is the players that have come back from injury are better than the ones that are replacing them. But still, that type of football is not sustainable football, even with those players, because we concede too many chances. The difference we have in those games is we have a little bit of quality up front to put one of these chances away. And other teams don't have that. They shoot and shoot and shoot. And some people might say, well, they didn't score, we scored. Fair enough. But if you want to go toe-to-toe with the top teams, there's a reason why we don't beat teams in the top 6, 10 in the league. Because they take their chances when they get them. If you're giving 20 chances away to Spurs, they're going to score 1 or 2. If you give 20 shots away to City, they'll score 4 or 5. If you give 20 chances to Luton, they'll score 1 or none. And that's what I'm talking about, that people are being overly positive about these 5 wins and we're back and we're at a turning point. We're at the same point we were at a year ago. And a year ago, we came, what was it, third and got in the Champions League. We haven't progressed one bit. If anything, we've stagnated and gone backwards while all the other teams around us have got better. But that is my point on that, and I'll get into some other bits and bobs about that and what I think about tactics later when I come on to Ten Hag. But first of all, I want to talk about Bruno Fernandes, the guy right here, that way. I mean, if you've ever watched one of my videos before or seen me comment on other channels where I'm members or I'm involved in the chat, you'll know I'm not a Bruno Fernandes fan. And there is reasons for that. I watch every single Man United game for 90 minutes, which probably a lot of other people do. And all I see is Bruno give the ball away. Yes, he can do a worldy pass. Yes, he might score a great goal from time to time. But how many of those passes, if I went on that pitch and stood in the centre circle and smacked the ball forward 100 times, one of them would come off. And that's what it's like. It's like he just gets the ball, it's a hot potato, and I'll hoof it forward either towards Højlund or Rashford or Garnacho, and I'll basically hope they get off the score off the back of it. And I'll get on to Rashford later, obviously, but he gets a lot of stick, and we talk about service for the front man, but the service for both wingers from midfield is awful as well. And that is his main job, to get the ball out wide to the front two or to get the ball into Højlund. And every time he gets the ball, like a hot potato, gone. Just whack it as far up the pitch as you can. Now Rashford's fast enough to get on the end of it. It's pathetic from somebody who's supposed to be our captain. And it's not just his stupid lack of ability in keeping hold of the ball that's a problem I have with him. And this, again, it might come on to Ten Hag later. You can decide on that one, whether you think Ten Hag is to blame or Bruno's to blame. Why is Bruno, when he's one of the central three players, always up with Hoyland? When McTominay comes on, and I'm not a fan of McTominay, if you go back and watch some other videos, you'll know I think he's useless basically. But when McTominay's on the pitch and he's in the way of Hoyland and up with Hoyland, everyone just says he's getting in the way of him. When Bruno does it, everyone just says, "Oh, Bruno's pressing again. He's pressing again." He's not pressing. He's out of position. He's out of position, pressing from midfield. He gets bypassed. Then there's a gaping hole between the front line and Casemiro. And guess what? What happens? We get overrun and they get a shot off. People need to understand that it isn't the defence's fault all the time when we concede. It isn't the defence's fault all the time when the other team get a chance. As many a top manager has said, and in many different sports and other things, defence starts from the front. And when Bruno Fernandes is running out of his position to go and press a keeper who just passes the ball around him, that is taking him out of the game and out of the midfield completely. On top of that, I think his basics are terrible, as in his 10 to 15 yard passing is extremely sloppy. It's slow, it's misdirected, it is. If you watch him closely, watch how poor he is technically on the ball with the basics. And I'm not saying this off a reaction of Fulham where he was terrible. If I could go back and show you my match ratings for Bruno Fernando for the last year, I don't think I would have ever given him a 6 out of 10. I think even in games where he's good, he's not good. Or in games where he gets an assist and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Bruno's had a great game, he got an assist." He hasn't. He's had one hoof up front that's come off and people say it's a worldy pass. It's not. It's law of averages. 1 in 100 is going to come off. And just on what I would do with him, and I'm sure you can tell, and you probably know from my channel previously, what would I do with Bruno in the summer? We're trying to have a clear out. If people want Ten Hag to stay and for us to change the style of football to a Ten Hag style, which is pass, possession and press, then he does not fit it. He's a counter-attacking footballer without the technical ability to be a technical number 10. Can Bruno do what Odegaard does? No. Can Bruno do what Kevin De Bruyne does? No. He's absolutely nowhere near on those two's level. I would say he's not even. It's hard to even say he's better than Maddison when he's been playing for Spurs. Because Maddison creates things. People call Bruno a creator. He's not a creator. He's a possession waster. And on top of that, he's supposed to be the captain. And I'll say this. When Harry Maguire was captain, and again, I'm not a Maguire fan, he should be out of the club and sold. But when we were performing as poorly as we were, in fact, probably as poor, we're as poor now or worse now than we were with Maguire as captain. People wanted Maguire out of the club. They couldn't stand him. They wanted the captain stripped of him and everything. Bruno Fernandes, for some reason, because he runs around a lot, people think what he's doing is acceptable. Is everyone be forgetting that in every community online and everyone else was saying last year, again, about Scott McTominay, that work rate isn't enough. Running around the pitch is not good enough. That is a given. And all he has got at the moment, Fernandes, is he runs around. But the problem with Fernandes is he runs around like a headless chicken. It's not even in positionally correct. He's all over the pitch trying to. People say he's trying to do everything. To me, he's just not where he should be. Why isn't he staying in the number 10 role in midfield, dictating games? I'll tell you why. Because positionally and technically, he isn't good enough. He's 29. He's been here, what, 5, 6, 7 years now? We've had the best of him. People will still buy Fernandes now because his perception is still that he's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League creative wise. Somebody would buy him for probably anywhere. I don't know how long he's left in his contract, but depending on contract, he would go for 30 to 60 million quid probably, depending on his contract length. So you tell me now, when we're resetting here with Ineos and Jim Radcliffe and everyone else, 29-year-old, when we're wanting out to out Casemiro, who's 30, because everyone says he's past it and underperforming. Let me ask you the question. He's almost 30 and he's underperforming and he's on well over 200 grand a week. Why is he not in the same vein and talk as Casemiro and Varane and co of leaving the club? He should be. But that is my point with Fernandes, and I think I've gone on about it before and I've talked about it for long enough now. Come back at me in the comments. Tell me what you think of Fernandes, because I know there's a lot of people out there who think we can't sell Fernandes now, and this is something I want to get onto. People say he's the least of our worries. You shouldn't be worrying about Fernandes now because we've got so many other players who need to be replaced first. Okay, this is my comeback on that. Who's the team built around? Who is the main player in the team? Or the two main players? Probably Bruno and Rashford. Both of them are not good enough. You set the standard with your best players, and those two are our best players, apparently. And their standard isn't good enough. So that's my 2 pence on that. You sell him, you buy someone who's as good or not better and probably younger, or someone who's not even quite as good but knows how to retain the ball properly and play in a number 10 without running around like a madhead. And there you start to build for the future because you're replacing the best players and it's ruthless. It doesn't matter. We need to get rid of Maguire, McTominay, Martial, Sancho, all them lot. And I totally agree with that. But they're players that need to go anyway. The ruthless moves are to get rid of people like Fernandes and Rashford and replace the best players with better. And that's how you elevate. You don't elevate by keeping Fernandes, who's basically pretty much done nothing at the club, really. Won a few trophies here, been part of the failure over the last 5 years. If he's the standard's too low. That's why you should replace him. And the same goes for Rashford. We'll get on to Rashford now. We've talked enough about Bruno. Rashford, again, I think everyone on the internet said it. I think people who think that Marcus Rashford has got a future at Man United don't watch Man United enough. Over the last however many years, I mean, I might even see if I can get it up now. Look at his Premier League stats. But while I do that, we'll just talk about his attitude. His attitude stinks. I think I said this in the last video I made. Forget him going out and all that crap. Whatever. Like I said before, don't really bother me. Do what you want as long as you're performing on the pitch. This guy is the poster boy of the club. He is on, 325 people say. Some people say 375. Whatever it is, it's way over 300 grand a week. Pretty much our top earner. And he's one of the most inconsistent players I have ever seen in my life. And it's the same as I just said with Bruno Fernandes. He, again, is seen as the standard. And if that is the standard, we are where we are for the future. Like I say, the other players who we need to go and they'll be dealt with. But players like him and Bruno need to be gone to reset the standards of the club. And I don't even want to go on a rant too much about it, but we've seen it now. There was the clip against, was it Villa, was it? Where he just let, was it Douglas Luiz? He walked past him and then he didn't track back. There's all the chat of him this weekend about him not running, not working, just being walked past. If you've ever seen a player that needs to go, it is Marcus Rashford. And I know I was just really harsh on Bruno Fernandes, but that's more about his qualities than his attitude. Bruno's attitude is fine. He obviously wants to win for the club, and you can't argue that he runs around and tries. Rashford's the complete opposite. He hasn't got the talent or the attitude. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm sure you've watched millions of other videos. His ego's through the roof. He's overpaid. I think he's protected too much. He never comes out in the media and talks. He's supposed to be the poster boy of the club. Why is he never in post-match interviews? He's, he's got to take some responsibility for me, and he takes none. Gets away with whatever he wants to do. Ten Hag still plays him every single match. He can do what he wants, and nobody will ever tell him any different. To me, if I could only sell one player this summer, it'd be Rashford, and that is crazy to say. With the likes of Sancho hanging about, and the likes of Maguire and Martial, and even Luke Shaw, who is another one I could have talked about. But Luke Shaw's a good player. But you cannot have somebody who's been there for 10 years and he can't play more than a third of a season. There's just no point. You could have bloody Lionel Messi, peak Messi, but if he can't play, he's no good to you, is he? So if he cannot play, he has to be sold. The same as it. Luke Shaw is basically Martial, but people seem to not get on his back. But anyway, back to Rashford and his stats, right? So 2015-16, 5 goals. 17, 5 goals. 18, 7. 19, 10. 2020, 17. 21, 11. 22, 4. 23, 17. And this year, 5. So for somebody who's a so-called our best player, most prolific player, poster boy, he's basically had 2 good seasons out of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What? Out of 10 seasons. So 10 seasons they've got on the Premier League website from 2016. He scored 17 goals twice. The rest of the time, he's got 10 goals or less. I mean, he's just not good enough, is it? I mean, let me have a look at Salah's, for example. It's just not good enough, is it? It's too inconsistent. And I've said it before that last season his 17 goals were a purple patch. Absolute purple patch. Because for the last third of the season he was terrible as well. But let's have a look at this then. So from when he joined Liverpool in 2018, 32 goals. 2019, 22. 2020, 19. 21, 22. 22 goals, that is. 2022, 23 goals. 2023, 19 goals. And so far this year, 15 goals. So every single year, Salah has outscored and outperformed Rashford. And yeah, you'll all say, well, Liverpool have got Jurgen Klopp and they've got a structure and if you look at the stats of where we finished in the league, Liverpool have won the league once and finished second twice. Yes, we haven't won it, but we've finished second twice as well. And what? Salah on average there's probably got 10 goals a season more than Rashford. And for the 90% of them years, he would have been on 100 probably odd grand less. And I hate to praise Liverpool players, but Mo Salah is the perfect example of what Marcus Rashford should be. And when you look at the difference in them two over that period in time, why is he hung out and hung up as the boy outside of Old Trafford who's our future? Because if you believe that is our future, Man United has no future. And that is as damning as it gets, I'm afraid to tell you. So that is enough on him because I'm quite honestly sick of the guy. So now we're on to the old big topic, which really splits the fan base into Eric Ten Hag and his future. Has he got one? I don't think anybody can say yes or no right now. I think it's absolutely 50-50. My personal opinion is that I think he's getting the chop in the summer, regardless of what he does. I mean, got some notes written down here. We've conceded something like 450 shots this season. I think there's only like Luton or Burnley and Sheffield United that have conceded more shots than us. Our goal difference is 0. We're what, 5th, 6th, 7th in the league? Let me just get the table up. We are 6th in the league. Goal difference of 0. We've lost 10 games already. We're out the Champions League. We're out the Carabao Cup. We're basically, what, 6, 8 points off 4th place. We're not getting 4th. And we'll be very, very lucky if we get in the Champions League with 5th. That'll be his absolute get out of jail free card if that happens. And the thing is, in prior years, when the Glazers are in charge and that lot, they're not interested in the football. Surely for Brailsford and Ratcliffe and all them lot are Man United fans. They know what we play like. They've seen it, they watch it. They've probably already got the preconceptions of how poor we are on the pitch. And this is something that I just wanted to get into. Apart from the 450 shots, conceding 20 shots versus Luton. I mean, what is that? And yes, we've won 4 or 5 games, but as I mentioned at the start, we still were poor. We're reliant on moments and us better players creating something of their own accord, nothing to do with team play whatsoever. It's basically Hoyland scored a load of goals himself and got us some wins. Nobody else has contributed to it, to the goals. It's literally him making goals for himself. But what, 2 years now, roughly, he's been in the job. People say, how can he change the style of play with the players that he's got? We've got players going back from this manager, the other manager, this manager, the other manager. And I'll say it and I'll say it again. Eddie Howe, yes, Newcastle aren't doing great this year, but when he took over, they were going to get relegated and they finished in the Champions League with basically a championship side. They're still 9th this year with loads of injuries and they have a style of play. Villa and Tottenham. Tottenham have been through how many managers in the last few years? They've got players from loads of managers, and Postecoglou's gone in there, and within 3 months, he's completely changed them. Villa the same with Emery. Gone in there within a year or so, they're completely and utterly changed. And people say, well, we can't do it with them players. Well, We should be able to, because we're not at the bottom of the league. We're still sixth in the Premier League. These players, even though we say they're absolutely shite, they're still top six Premier League players. You're telling me they cannot be told to play a certain style of football? And yes, we might go out and try and play like Arsenal or City or whatever, and maybe we're not as good at it as them. But you're telling me that them players are not capable of passing lanes, structure, patterns. They're professional footballers at the very top of the hardest league in the world. Of course, they can learn patterns. The problem is, are they being taught them, or is it that they do not care and don't want to do them? And I think it is a little bit of a mixture of both. I think it's more that they're not being taught them. And the reason I say that is, if Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, and whoever else you want to put in this are not following the patterns that Eric Ten Hag has laid out, then why are they still on the pitch? He has to be telling them to play like they are. Wide open in midfield, too far up the pitch. And this contradicts everything I've just said about them two before, because now I'm saying it's on the manager. But I'm afraid the three of them come together and we've got enough history with Rashford and Bruno to prove that that is how they want to play. And is that how they want to play and how they're going to play regardless of what Eric Ten Hag tells them? If that's the case, surely he would sub them off and not play them. So he must be telling them to do that. What was the reason we wanted him in the club for in the first place? Was to bring Ajax football. And now all you hear is, well, Ajax had a structure above him. That's why he could do it. Well, if that's the case, then he's not good enough, is he? He's not the manager. He's Ollie 2.0. Either he can do it or he can't. So what we're going to do? Wait another 3 years under Ineos and give him another next year and then another year and then still sixth because he's still not changed the style of play. We're still playing basketball, football and winning 2 games and then getting battered in one. Because we're wide open in midfield and we go, oh, well, Martinez was out this week. That's probably why we didn't win this game. Oh, well, we better blame Scott McTominay because he's rubbish, even though we've lost 20 games this season without him playing. And again, it's me. I will defend McTominay and Maguire this season because when they were regulars last season or the season before, whatever it was, and they were getting absolutely berated for poor performance, you have to be fair on the people that are doing it this season. And our so-called best players are not up to it. I mean, his tactics, I mean, do you even know what they are? Play out from the back to who? There's no patterns. Once we get the ball on the back four, the midfield, they're not there to be passed to because Bruno stood up front with Højlund and Casemiro. As much as I like him, he's not a technical midfielder. And then the only one who can do it is Mainu. And Mainu's, 18, 19 years old, only just come in the team. And he's the only midfielder, or I would say pretty much the only player in that entire team, apart from maybe Delo, who actually knows how to get a hold of the ball and pass it. The rest of them just try diags or hoofball or whatever. You can say what you want to me about Eric Ten Hag, and I don't think he should get sacked now, but I think surviving the summer for him is very, very difficult. We could go out the FA Cup this midweek, sorry. We're out of every other cup. We're pretty much out of the top 4 race. If we go out the FA Cup on Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever the game is, it'll be very interesting to see what happens to the rest of the season, the players, because there's nothing to play for at all, apart from hoping Villa and Spurs absolutely bottle job it and we sneak top 4. It'd be the perfect time, I think, if you're gonna do it. So you've got who you want in for the summer. If we go out the FA Cup and lose to City, and Spurs and Villa both win, there's nothing there to play for at all. At that point, if they've got someone lined up who they think is someone that they want to replace him, and he's available at that point in time, why not? Get him in, get the players doing what he wants to do, and then you've got from now until the summer to plan an overhaul in the summer. Or do you wait and leave Ten Hag in and hope he scrapes 4th or 5th and we get to the Champions League and then roll with him? Because people say, give him a chance with the structure, because it's not his fault we paid so much money for all these players. Well, it's probably not. But whether you pay 20 million for Anthony or 85, he's still crap. Whether you pay 20 mil for Onana or 50, he's still been crap. Whether you play 20 million or 60 million for Mount, he's been injured all season. And it goes on. Amrabat, brought him in on loan. He's that crap, he can't even play. You know, and I know we'll have a structure and it won't be all on Ten Hag to pick the players, but the players he has chosen and we have bought under him have been shockingly bad. So, to sum it up, summer, Bruno gone. Rashford, absolutely 100%, he needs to leave in the summer. I don't care where to, who to, or how to. Get him out of the club. And Erik Ten Hag, for me, I don't know at this point. That is my honest answer. He's got a lot to learn and a lot to answer for before I have any confidence in him going through another summer and spending another couple of 100 mil. He just... Again, the people say, oh, you can't do the style play, but you can. 2 years down the line with a top 6 Premier League team, you can instill a style of football on them. I don't care who you are, who you think you are. They're not, as much as we say the crap, like I said before, they're still extremely talented footballers who should be able to learn patterns and pass the ball simply. Whoever is on the pitch for United. So let me know what you're thinking. If this has been an extremely long video, I didn't expect it to go on this long, but I had a lot to say because I hadn't been on the videos for a long time. So I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a like, favourite, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. And hopefully we beat Forest in the Cup. And he don't get the sack. And then we can all crap ourselves at the weekend over City. Boosh.